What is going on, Kyle? We are back for UFC Vegas, Holloway versus who the fuck's he fighting this week? Yair Rodriguez. Yair. This is actually a pretty good card. I'm just looking at the odds right now. How'd we do last week before we get into that? UFC 268.
We went almost exactly.
How'd we do
even.
last
I
week
think
before we get into that? UFC 268.
4.5 units.
Okay.
So it was basically even.
So
we took some huge shots. If Melsick won by TKO or Odie won by TKO, we would have won huge. But we've been doing really good with unit allotment recently, and it's been allowing us to take those big shots. While if they don't hit, we're still even.
It doesn't wreck your night.
And when we do hit, we have a 15 unit night like we did the other night.
Right, like UFC.
So we've been doing a lot better with that, and we're always grinding, we're always working on how we could get better with that. Because our write-ups, are like always on point, but we were struggling with unit allotment for a few weeks, and now it's been I think 3 weeks now where we've been a lot better.
That's awesome. And where can people go for the fight write-ups and all of
our Substack? The
Substack.
link is in my Twitter. It's in my TikTok. It's going to be...
We'll throw a pinned comment out on there. We did also do a little bit of upgrading to the landing page so it doesn't just look like a blank opt-in page anymore. So that's a plus. That should help people figure out what they're submitting their email.
And I just finished my tape study notes too, so those will be out today. Yep.
Awesome. All right, so first fight of the night. We've got Kennedy. How the hell do you pronounce this? We've got Kennedy. How the hell do you pronounce this? Kennedy is plus 100. Jung is minus 120. And Kennedy minus 120. And Kennedy 100. Are we slamming Dawood?
Yeah, so this is probably my favorite fight on the card. I was telling you earlier, before I did tape study, I thought we were going to like Kennedy Nzechukwu, or however you say his name. I thought we were going to like Kennedy. But after doing the tape study, this is Dawood Jung's fight. He will have the better wrestling. He's stronger. And he's got crisper boxing. He uses a 1-2. He uses his jab. He's not like Kennedy, who just kind of throws wild shit, hope he lands. Kennedy, the good thing I like about Kennedy, and the reason I thought I would like him, is he fights for your money. He's tough. He never gives up on himself.
Right. We've won some money on him in the past, and my first thought was take Kennedy in this one, and then I did some more research. And
he puts on a pace, and even when he's tired, he still carries his power. But Dawood Jung, he's going to be the better fighter everywhere. I expect him to take Kennedy down, and I expect him to beat him in the stand-up exchanges. I like Dawood Jung a lot. We're going to hammer him.
Yep, love it. And definitely, I think also probably going to be a play on DraftKings for me as well, because we have a short card this week. There's only 11 fights. Yeah,
we're down a few.
In this one, and we're down a couple. So our next fight is Marc Diakis at minus 190 going up against Rafael Alves. Marc is 8,700 on DraftKings, and Alves is only 7,500. What do you think? Hammering Diakis here?
Yeah. Rafael Alves, he's 19-10 in his career. He's a Dana White Contender Series veteran. I'm not too sure why they had him on the show, because they threw him against Damir Ismagulov in his first fight. So they clearly didn't like him.
That's me.
But he's got some big power. He did rock Ismagulov early. Ismagulov does tend to get rocked. He goes for subs constantly. He's kind of the killer, be killed kind of fighter. Everything he does is with explosion. And Marc Diakis is kind of like the opposite of that. Everything he does is very controlled. He's fought very high level comp. the competition is not even close between Rafael Alves and Diakese. Diakese has wins over guys like Lando Venata and Joe Duffy. He lost his last fight to Fiziev. He's fought Dan Hooker. I mean, this guy, he's fought good comp. And one thing I liked, Diakese has been training with none other than Khamzat Chimaev. And I like that their fights are so close together. That means they were probably preparing together. I think Diakese will have the better cardio by a lot, and he will start pulling away as the fight goes on.
Yeah, and I remember we had Diakese pretty heavy in his last fight, and he got pretty thoroughly picked apart by Fiziev. And so my first instinct was take Alves in this, just because he didn't look Diakese didn't look all that great in his last fight. And then I remember it was against fucking Rafael Fiziev. And then I went back and looked at his record, and I was like, oh, yeah, the fights he didn't look that good were against murderers.
Yeah, literally.
And freaking Rafael Alves is not at the level of competition that Diakese is used to, so he should just pick him right apart.
And even with the lesser competition, he's still 19-10 in his career. So, yeah, I expect Diakese to win this pretty easy.
All right, we have another pretty good one here. Cortney Casey, fucking 9-9 in women's MMA, still getting a fight here. Minus 230 against Llana. Jojua. Hang on one sec. ESPN is playing a fucking ad here. And let's see what we got on DraftKings. Casey is 8,800 and Llana Jojua is 7,400. What do you think here?
I don't like it either, but I'm leaning Cortney Casey. She just lost to JJ Aldrich, who's not bad. And she actually looked pretty good in that. It was a split decision. It was really close. She was hitting Aldrich pretty hard. I also expect Cortney Casey to be the much stronger fighter in this. Llana Jojua is basically a submission specialist. She has no striking to speak of. And most of her submissions are armbar from guard. Can Cortney Casey get caught in that? Yeah, she definitely can. And she has before. And she also has some armbar from guard wins in her career. I think this is a little bit of a buy low spot for Casey. I was expecting the line to be actually the other way when I first heard about this fight. So there's not much value there. I really thought the line would be better than this. So, yeah, I agree. Stay away fights, low level.
Definitely not willing to lay minus 230 juice on a
but I tell you what,
fighter.
Cortney Casey at, what'd you say, 8,800 on DraftKings?
Yes.
It is because at that price point, nobody's going to want to play her. And she could finish this fight. So I think that's where I'll be using her is DraftKings.
Yeah, for sure. And, all right, moving on, we have another pretty heavy favorite in Sean Woodson at minus 330, going up against Collin Anglin at plus 260. And where is he on DraftKings? Woodson is 9,200, and Anglin is an even 7,000.
Yes, this is another one where I thought I was going to be going with the dog in Collin Anglin. After doing some research, completely on Sean Woodson. Anglin is a Factory X fighter. He's 28. He's 8-2. Another Dana White Contender Series guy. And he beat Naimov on Dana White Contender Series. He had a tough fight on there. Yeah.
Real.
UFC must not have liked him either because they threw him against Melsik Bagdasaryan in his first fight. And he got TKO'd in the second round. He's pretty strong. Comes in shape. He's like thick. He's short and thick. Good footwork, but he's got big holes. One thing I noticed, a bad tendency he has is when he gets hit, he freezes up. I'm not too sure that you can fix that. I think that's kind of like an instinctual thing.
You can't.
And against a dude like Woodson, he's a boxer. Woodson's a striker.
Right. He's gonna get Fucking
Yeah,
Anglin is
and he's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage in this fight. I'm thinking Woodson. I'm thinking by finish, too. And he's another sneaky one on DraftKings that I think might go under-owned because of the price. And if you look, when DraftKings shows you your previous scores, Woodson is not a scorer on DraftKings, but I think he can be for this fight.
I like it. Moving on, we've got Miguel Baeza, -150, going up against Khaos Williams, +125. Baeza is 8,500 on DraftKings, and Khaos is 77.
I've gone back and forth on this fight.
Same.
When I first saw it, I was on Miguel Baeza. I watched some tape. I went to Collin. Now I'm leaning back towards Miguel. This is a hard one to call. They both have power.
So I was actually the opposite. I was first thinking dog play here in Khaos Williams, and then watching a little tape, I was kind of changed my pick to Baeza. But now I'm not so sure.
It's one of these fights where they both have huge power. Collin Williams, he has some bad tendencies. He rushes in, and he even said it himself. He gets excited in there, and he just goes for the finish, and his chin is held up. He throws volume. He doesn't really hit you with one punch to knock you out like some people think. But he just throws volume and he keeps throwing it, and he does hit hard. He beat Semi the Jetty in his last fight, and he outlanded him by 40 strikes. And Semi has looked pretty good, but the only thing is, Baeza. This is what it comes down to. Baeza is the better fighter. The only problem that I don't like is Baeza gets caught in some of his fights, gets hit and rocked.
See, that's
and
what I was.
I rewatched the Matt Brown fight. He was hurt really bad in that, and Khaos Williams hits not a lot harder, but he hits harder than Matt Brown. How I see this fight going is Miguel Baeza is going to get those leg kicks going. He's going to be hurting Khaos Williams. And he's going to get caught in the second round. He's going to get finished. He's going to be the better fighter and still lose. One thing that is pushing me Miguel Baeza's way is just like the other fighter who we had a training partner fight recently in Khamzat. Miguel Baeza trains with Colby Covington. So they've been training together. They're working together. They're around the same size.
Right.
So,
and Covington looked
fucking
good last week.
This is a stay away. I can't bet this fight in good conscience. Tell you who to bet. That's irresponsible.
Right.
Yeah.
Just watch it. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Cynthia Calvillo at -125 going up against Andrea Lee +105. And Calvillo is 8,200 on DraftKings. Andrea Lee sitting at 8,000.
And I do like the slight dog here.
You think? Yeah.
Calvillo hasn't looked the same. She hasn't looked the same since moving up in weight to 125. She used to rely on her wrestling and just overall control because she didn't get tons of wrestling, but she would get one takedown and be able to control the fight on the ground. Since moving up, she's only gotten one takedown. And in those two fights, she's only landed a combined 90 strikes. So she hasn't looked good since moving up.
Pass.
Andrea Lee, on the other hand, is kind of on the other end. She had a 3-fight losing skid, including losing to Roxanne Modafferi. She had bad takedown defense, and it was questionable at times, but she's looked a lot more explosive. She says she's been taking training a lot more serious. She had some things going on in her life during that skid. And she looked excellent in her last fight against Shevchenko, the lesser of the sisters.
Yeah. Antonina.
And I think Andrea Lee might get a finish here. I really like Andrea Lee in this spot.
Yeah, I was leaning her.
The only way Cynthia Calvillo wins is using that wrestling. And I think she's gonna use it, and Andrea Lee might get a couple reversals in this fight. She's super athletic. I like Andrea Lee.
She is. Yeah. Yeah. Same. Like her a lot. Moving on, we have Thiago Moises minus 260 going up against Joel Alvarez plus 210 on DraftKings. We have Moises sitting at 9K and Alvarez sitting at 7,200. Are we hammering Thiago Moises here, using him as a parlay piece?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Thiago Moises is a guy I've underestimated too many times. He's just really good.
Same. I feel like every time
he's only ever lost to Demirez Magulov, Benil Dariush, and Islam Makhachev. The guy's good everywhere. And Joel Alvarez is the definition of a one-trick pony. He is a submission ace. He can't take you down. He doesn't strike. He tries to pull guard on you, and he tries to armbar you from guard. He does.
That shit doesn't work.
I tell you what, though,
MMA.
he is one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC off his back, kind of Brian Ortega-esque. But Thiago Moises is too good for that. Thiago Moises is a jiu-jitsu guy too. Thiago Moises is going to be a little bit better than Joel Alvarez everywhere. I also think this is a fight where Thiago Moises, he's got great cardio, and he tends to have guys fall to his pace. He's in a lot of boring fights, Thiago Moises. Guys just tend to go to his pace. I don't know why that is. He's just one of those guys, and I think he beats Joel Alvarez, and each round that passes, Thiago Moises looks a little bit better.
Like it a lot. I don't think I'm gonna pay the $9,000 for him on DraftKings, but definitely worth a shot in some parlays. All right, moving on to the main card now. Song Yadong, minus 135 going up against Julio Arce. And let's see where Song Yadong is. Sitting at 8,400, and Arce is 70.
This is my favorite fight on the card besides the main event. Both of these guys are awesome. Arce, when he first came in to the UFC and beat Dan Ige, I was like, this guy is fucking legit.
Right.
Since then, he's kind of alternated wins and losses. He knocked the shit out of Andre Ewell in his last fight, cost us money. I thought Andre Ewell would win that. Julio Arce looked great. Impressed me there. But he's fighting a guy in Song Yadong who's one of my favorite prospects in the UFC. He's already beaten guys like Casey Kenny, Marlon Vera, and Alejandro Perez. He took Cody Stamann.
I forgot to beat Marlon.
He took Cody Stamann to a draw, and he's only 23 years old somehow.
That is the part I always forget because I feel like he's
23.
He's got a
he's
got a zillion.
He fights out a team alpha male. He's a striker. He's very physically strong. And this is another case where I think he's just a little bit better than Julio Arce everywhere. I like Song Yadong, and I like him as a bet.
Definitely agreed.
Yeah,
definitely. And the price is right to go big on this one, I think.
Oh yeah,
I love it. 135.
Love that spot.
All right, we've got another not very good fight next. Unfortunately, Kyle Dacus and Roman Dolidze is off.
That's a COVID pullout for Dolidze.
Yeah, unfortunate. We've got Felicia Spencer, minus 300, going up against Leah Letson, plus 240. And let's see, Letson is 7,100. Spencer is 9,100.
This is definitely a stay away. It's impossible to break down. Leah Letson hasn't fought in 3 years, and she's only 5-1. She claims that she's improved, but we haven't seen it. And meanwhile, since in those 3 years, Felicia Spencer has fought and lost to, but she still fought Cyborg, Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Dumont.
Right.
And there's other fights mixed in there as well. Felicia Spencer, I gotta think she wins just based off she's been fighting high level while Leah Letson has been doing nothing.
Sitting on her couch eating pretzels for 3 years.
So I gotta think Leah Letson loses that, but stay away.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We've got a pretty tough one up next in Big Ben Rothwell going up against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Rothwell is the slight favorite at -150, and de Lima is +125. On DraftKings, Rothwell is 8,600, and de Lima is 7,600. What do you think?
This is a tough one. De Lima.
Is a tough one. First thought was hammer Ben Rothwell.
That still might be the case.
But
de Lima, he's not as good at heavyweight. He's still explosive, got knockout power. And when I think of him, I think of a striker. But in his last fight against Maurice Green, he showed that he's got wrestling too. Everything he does with power, so he just uses explosion and strength to rip you to the ground. And he can definitely do that to Big Ben early.
Yes. But Big Ben can't be as bad. I mean, Big Ben is actually a good wrestler, whereas
terrible.
Maurice Green's
just not a good fighter.
Wrestle at all. He's
just not a good fighter at all.
It was bad. Yeah.
So Ben Rothwell hasn't looked as good in his last few fights. He still wins against lesser comp. His only losses are to pretty high level dudes. But he has looked more hittable and slower than we've ever seen him. He's got that funky style where he herky-jerky.
Just fucking goes head first at you. Looping bombs. But then if one of those hits you, you're dead.
And he's got sneaky chokes. Like in his last fight against Barnett, he almost caught Barnett in the first round with that front choke. He just put his forearm in Barnett's throat, and you could tell Barnett had no idea what to do.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
And then he got him with the guillotine in the second round. And I think we're going to see something similar to that here, with Marcos Rogerio de Lima maybe looking good early, Ben Rothwell surviving.
Right.
And then how does Marcos Rogerio de Lima lose any of his fights? They're all by sub. So Ben Rothwell by sub.
I think
if you're betting it, Ben Rothwell by sub is the way to go. And DraftKings offers those two-way props. Ben Rothwell by sub or decision, I think, is pretty safe.
Yeah. And Ben Rothwell definitely has better cardio than Rogerio de Lima. So if this thing goes more than one round, he's going to have a
I will say de Lima's cardio looked pretty good against Maurice Green, but Maurice Green didn't push him at all.
Right. So I was kind of thinking that at first, but then if you go back and watch the fight, basically Rogerio de Lima just took him down in the first 10 seconds of the round and then just laid on top of him. So, like, the fact that he made it 3 rounds in the top position is not quite as good because Maurice Green basically just let this dude just lay on him and didn't try and get out for fucking 3 straight rounds. And then they were like, no more of you, sir. All right. Main event. We've got Max Holloway, huge favorite, prohibitive favorite, -625, going up against Yair Rodriguez at +450. And Holloway is 9,500 on DraftKings. Yair is 6,700. Fucking Holloway.
They're begging you to take Yair. They're begging you. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yair is great. He's a prospect that we've seen coming up for a long time. His only loss is to Frankie in the UFC. And Frankie kind of did humble him a little bit. But he came back, beat Jeremy Stevens twice, basically. He's looked good. And the one thing I was watching when I did tape study was that fight with Korean Zombie, where he had that up elbow, the crazy fucking up elbow. But He was losing that fight. He got beat in a striking fight against Korean Zombie and got lucky with that knockout. That's not going to happen against Max. Max has every single striking record that there is in the UFC, basically. The guy's unbelievable. Right. At this price tag, I'm not willing to bet it, but I think Max wins. I'm calling a third-round TKO. I think the volume's just going to be too much. I think Yair might be a little mentally soft. When he's great when he's when he's beating you up. Yeah, like you did to Jeremy Stevens. Yeah, right. But when he's getting beat, I think Max is going to put a hurting on this kid, just like he did to Calvin Kattar, who we thought was the next coming too. And then we say Yair's a prospect, right? He's the same age as Max Holloway. That is how big of a phenom Max Holloway is. Yeah, Max Holloway is that guy. Like, we say Yair's a prospect. Right. No, Max is the prospect. You know, like... Right. Max is just doing it. Yeah.
He's just a savage. Right.
So I see Max Holloway winning. He doesn't lose at 145 to anyone not named Volkanovski, and even those were questionable.
Yeah.
If I bet you that books are going to do some crazy props here, and one prop that would be worth taking, I think, is does Max land over 200 strikes? Yeah.
I like that. Especially if it goes
3 rounds. If it goes 2 rounds. How many? He landed like 600 strikes on Calvin Kattar. This dude.
That's true too. 200 sounds like a lot for a normal human, but I forget that we're talking about
Max Holloway scored 200 DraftKings points in his last fight. He's ridiculous. So you have to take him on DraftKings. That's just a heads up. I know he's going to be chalk. Even if he's 90% owned, you are going to need him. So.
Right. You're not going to be able to win without him.
No, because your 2 winning fighters each scored 90 points. Meanwhile, Max Holloway scored 200. So it doesn't matter. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's going to be a good show, and I always love watching Max fight, so that's always exciting. And fuck Yair Rodriguez, he's a piece of shit too. So I want to see him get his ass beat.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. All right, had to make some last-minute adjustments to my DraftKings lineup after I was demanding to take Max Holloway, which I then did. I forgot that he fucking scored 200 points in his last fight. So I was like, all right, well, because I was thinking, he's going to be 90% owned, but then also that's because he scored 200 points in his last fucking fight. So, all right, going from most to least expensive, Max fucking Holloway, number 1. Big Ben Rothwell, I think this one goes kind of probably 2, maybe 3 rounds, and then Rothwell finishes him by sub. So a lot of opportunities for points there. And then we got Song Yadong at 8,400, 8,300. We got Jung, probably our favorite pick of the night. And then 8K, we got Andrea KGB Lee. KGB Lee. I think she gets a win here. Maybe not the highest scorer, but whatever. And then the last fight I have is Alvarez, just because I ran out of money. Had to take someone super cheap. I think Holloway is probably going to more than make up for the amount of points that Alvarez doesn't
I like
get.
It. I went with Max Holloway, obviously. I also took Big Ben. I think he's going to be low owned. Yeah. I took Jung as well. I took KGB Lee.
Okay.
Khaos.
Okay.
And
see, I had Khaos in my.
I think you might need half of that fight. That's gonna be a good one. And then I had no one I liked at the bottom. So I took a shot on Leah Letson, that she comes back and is truly improved, like she says.
is somehow
is truly
just
improved,
really good.
like she says.
She's been just hammering it for 3 straight years. All right, we'll take her word for it.
Yep. But
all right, so
picks
will be out later this week.
Oh yeah,
via Substack. Make sure you're on there if you're not already. And so that is going to do it, Kyle.
All right. See you, Scott.
See you later.